Okay, well, surprise, I decided to keep it. I'm going to try and do something with it. I want to build one of these trucks here, you see in the picture. And I think I've lined up a box with some things. I may have this deck sold. We'll see. I got the driver's side door opening and closing. That was a real kind of an upset. I put the truck up for sale, and I had a guy that was interested, but they kept kind of flaking out, so I came out to move it, and I thought, you know what? I'll try and do something with this truck and have some fun with it, and it'd be a good truck to pick stuff up in and just have some fun with building. If I don't like it now, we can just move it down the road. So right now I just got to pull the carburetor off and got to get that cleaned up, so when I do sell my Ford, I can drive it to town. I'm just going to rebuild it. It doesn't have an accelerator pump, and it runs if you got about half choke. So we'll get that fixed so the truck will run a lot better. Sorry about that choke motor. Wrench. Oh, it fell on the ground. Okay, good. Good, but not good.
Yeah.
At least it's here.
Yeah, there's all those years of dropping wrenches down into the insides of a Mini behind the engine and the firewall. And you listen, you go, clink, 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 and you're waiting for the sound of concrete.
Yeah.
If you don't hear, it's like, oh no.
Okay, well, here we go. We got the 2-barrel off the Rochester. Close up the hood. We'll rebuild this, get it back on the truck, get it running properly, and this has got an interesting vacuum primary. The throttle only opens part way, and then some sort of vacuum pot to open up the second. Anyway, that's all going away. We're going to just make a standard Rochester 2-barrel for this. But we'll get it running good. Got to get a seat for it, put it in, get it to my place, and we'll get that other box and build it up. And hope you enjoy it. I went ahead and cleaned up all the parts off camera. I can show you what some of them look like. This is the carburetor middle off that truck there, and float bowl assembly and all that. And it was pretty bad. Like there was, I mean, a couple of screw holes were stripped. This one and this one. This one you couldn't tighten down. That one, the screw almost, it just took all the threads out with it. And so there's some issues with this middle, so I happen to have some spare parts left over from when I did that tri-power. I basically didn't have all of the, like, to get that tri-power I had to find 3 matching tops and some pieces, and that doesn't mean some of the pieces weren't good. So with that I was able to get an extra base and an extra middle. I ended up changing the top to accept a little filter. I did that just for extra filtration. The other one just has an inlet, and that other one I'm going to save for another tri-power setup down the road because it's got the correct inlet for that. Also, this is the old base, carburetor base. It has a governor on it, so basically these butterflies are controlled also by a vacuum pot that goes to the distributor. The truck has an HEI distributor in it, and so this was not hooked up, and we want to be able to get full throttle and full power out of that truck with this little 2-barrel. So I'm not going to use this. I'm going to save this though. It's a pretty cool piece. I'm not going to use it on this build, so I'm just going to show you how I'm going to put this together. I thought it'd be kind of neat going in detail on rebuilding one of these Rochester 2 jets and what I did. First off, let's start out with the throttle plate and base. I had completely disassembled this right down, took the throttle shaft out. I actually drilled the end and put in a screw, as you can see here. By doing that, I was able to change the end and also take out the play in it. It's sort of, they just sort of mushroom it over. I used a lathe, I drilled a hole, I tapped it with a 632 thread tap, and put a 632 screw in the end, and it allowed me to put on a different base. I also, or a different bracket, and then what I also did was I cut an O-ring groove, as you can see here. So there's an O-ring on the end here so that there's no vacuum leak in this throttle shaft. I think that's nice and solid. And it's got the idle air mixture screws. And I threw a little bit of this duplicolor cast color just on the base to give it some, so it doesn't rust, otherwise it's just plain metal. For the rest of the carburetor, I gave it a shot of this duplicolor wheel color gold. And for all the metal parts that I did in silver, I used the duplicolor silver for the wheel paint for the silver. I find it's a nice durable paint you can put on light, and the fuel doesn't seem to affect it too badly, so it's pretty good. Let's start by putting this together. So I got a completely bare body here. This little is for a vacuum port, which I have to plug it off. But that's if you want ported vacuum. You can run that to your distributor or anything else. First thing we're going to do is install the accelerator pump. Okay, so with this little ball that goes in here, okay, followed by a spring, and all that spring does is just keep it when you use the accelerator pump, just make sure the ball seats back down. Some carburetors don't even use that spring, it's just gravity from the ball is enough. Little T-pin, I just got to push that down. It's like a friction fit piece. Okay, we're going to test that with some brake clean and the accelerator pump to see if it's working properly. Okay. Okay, let's take my little plunger and check to make sure that the liquid is coming through that ball, and then I'll show you how that works once we get our cluster in here. Okay. Okay, next thing we install are these two little aluminum tubes with holes in them. Put them in here, one there, one there, just like that. Then there's a gasket and our cluster. This is our cluster. It has idle tubes for the idle circuit, and these are your high speed, your basically your secondary circuit, or your wide open circuit, I should say, because there's a secondary circuit on your idle, but we'll get into that. Get the gasket that fits on that. Okay, so we got the gasket on our cluster. That drops in right here. Okay, then there's one screw here that has a gasket on it. That particular gasket, we'll put a new one on. It's like a little washer. That screw there, along with these other two, go into that cluster. Okay, there's two long ones. That is for the middle. That has a gasket on it. That allows this for the accelerator pump to come out the squirter. So we're just going to assemble this and then test it. Okay. Okay. Then we're going to test the squirters. If all goes well, it should come out of the squirter holes like that. That's the accelerator pump jets. Okay, so that circuit's working good. So our accelerator pump's working, that's working. Now, one thing I wanted to show you about this body, what I did was I actually ran a hone, like you see in the video here. And by running that hone in there, I was able to smooth out that little, there was a casting ridge just on, it's like an airplane wing shape to speed up the airflow, to give speed to the venturi, to allow fuel to come out, get sucked up through the straws there. And that's, I cleaned that up like you see in the video here. This is one of the tricks I like to do these carbs. I'm not sure, I haven't dynoed it to find out if it makes any difference or what, but Anyway, I know in the drawings when they built these things, they never had that casting line. It's supposed to be smooth, but when they cast them, you're going to get imperfections. So sometimes it's a nice idea just to clean stuff like that up. Makes it a little more efficient. Next, our power valve. Little gasket on the power valve, and it goes down right in the bottom here. If you can see that, it goes right there. Okay. Some people have a special screwdriver. I just find this works for taking them out, but you can take a flat blade screwdriver, cut a notch in it. I got that away. So that's your power valve. That gets activated in vacuum through this piece here. When this gets pushed down, it opens up the power valve. Vacuum usually holds it up, and then allows more fuel to go in, and than just what the amount of fuel that goes in with these little the jets here, the metering jets. So we're gonna put those in next. These don't need gaskets; they just go in. There's 2 holes here. Okay, so we're just gonna put in our, this application, it's a small block Chevy, and the carburetor came with number 53 jets, so I'm just gonna put those back. Number 2 there, jets installed there side. And power valve. Okay, so now we got our main cluster together. We can now put that onto the base here. That goes on there. There's 3 Phillips head screws here, a little bit bigger than the rest. Those are the ones that hold down the base. Okay, just with carburetor stuff, you don't want to over tighten it because it's this is all pot metal, but you want a nice grip on it there, nice. So, you know, you want it nice and snug, but you don't need to sit there and crank on it. So that's our base now attached to the carburetor body. Now we got to assemble the top, and then we can put it all together. One of the things also that goes in the body, there's a little divider plate goes in there. Put that in. There's that little divider plate in there. We got to put in our power valve. So it slides in, and we just got to push that down into the body. There's a power valve. Okay, next thing to go in is our needle and seat. There's our seat, goes in. Okay, when you're doing this, you want to make sure you have a big flat blade that'll fit both of those pieces and just give that a nice snug. Again, you don't have to crank it. This is just pot metal. You put in our accelerator pump next, which goes here. We just got to put a clip on there. That will give that a little squeeze with the pliers. All right, so as you can see, I used pliers here. I bent that on, and that's not coming off. Okay, set the float here. Get the float pin in here. Check the height. Now, depending on the kind of gasket you have, this one here, I left out the, some of them are solid here, so you actually have to put the gasket down before you put the float in place, but in this case, I can just maneuver that in there. There's a little dowel that lines it up, and there's the gasket for the top plate. So the only thing left now are you got to put a spring in here where the accelerator pump is. There's a spring that drops in, and that goes in on the plunger. We put these two halves together and screw it together. So now we got the bottom here, top in place. What I do is line it up. Line up the plunger and spring. This all drop together. Okay. There's one long screw out of all the screws. That one goes here. Let's put that one in first. And then you can put the rest in. A little bracket here for the choke. That goes on there. Get all these tight here. So I always like to tighten from the middle outward. Again, you're just tightening in the pot metal, so these don't have to be super tight, but you want them to be solid. See, on before the body, this screw was stripped out, so this wouldn't hold and the choke wouldn't work, and well, the carburetor was still gummed up anyway. On the threads, I use this Loctite 567, and instead of using like a tape, it's a thread sealant. Don't get a vacuum leak there. Tighten that down. This rod here connects up for your accelerator pump. Okay, and then we'll just need a little clip for that. That there. Okay, then we got one for the choke. Depending where the choke is, it'll activate this little camshaft cam, and that cam will operate where the throttle is for when you got your choke on. It has to bring up the throttle. Just gotta stick that on. Okay. Moves the choke. It also raises the throttle. Now this screw is the wrong screw, so I gotta find a different one. Another thing, fuel filter. There's two gaskets go on here. There's one on the inside, one on the outside. I like to use these rock filters. It goes on like that. There's a spring here that keeps tension on it. Now spring goes in. The rock filter. And then the adapter there. And your fuel line will come in here. I bought a steel line that'll thread in. I'll bend this. We'll go to a filter and then down to the fuel pump. So basically, there we go. I just have to put a longer screw in here, tighten this up, and we got our shaft here to hold the air cleaner on, and our base gasket. And that's the build of a Rochester 2-jet, and for the 1967 Chevy C50, and we'll get it on that truck and see how it runs. Hope you enjoy it. If you like, please subscribe, and have a great day.